what are your initial thoughts about Houston's big time comeback win?
My initial thoughts is this was not the better game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I just immediately say it was the better ending.
it was definitely the better ending. I mean, the Florida Auburn game was a close game, like all the way throughout. I felt toward the beginning of the first half or end of the first half, Auburn like started pulling away, and then Florida brought it back. It was a 1 point game down the stretch for a lot of that Florida Auburn game, so I personally enjoyed it a little bit more. The Duke Houston game felt like a little bit of a snooze fest, just in my opinion. For the vast majority of it, it felt like Duke was dominating that game, and then there goes Houston out of nowhere. It felt like almost Cinderella like, even though they're a 1 seed, which is really funny. But they're maybe the Cinderella of the number 1 seeds because of the fact that everyone just had Duke. Everyone was like, I saw that somebody said that like Duke stood for like Duke was never going to be in his parlay ever again, bro. How could he sell him like that? Like Duke is just, how could you do that? Everyone in the world has you. Everyone, and there's maybe a flip a coin between Auburn and Florida. A lot of people are leaning Florida, but Duke was supposed to be in that national championship game. Cooper Flag was supposed to cement his story, and they just couldn't pull it out, which is so insane because I think they Houston went on a 15-3, or I know 11-1 was definitely a correct number. 15-3 is also a number I saw thrown out there. So any number of runs that were like just so consequential to the end of that game. A lot of people are going to talk about the over the back call on Cooper Flag, which definitely helped Houston pull away from Duke at the very end. Obviously, he makes both free throws. Completely different game after that call, but you don't let a game like that slip out of your hands. Those free throws towards the end of the game ended up being a bigger problem than it had been for Duke all season. Felt like the moment maybe just got a little bit too bright for some of the better players on Duke, including maybe to a lesser extent Cooper Flag. He still had a phenomenal game, but like obviously you get that one-on-one situation. This is kind of the moments that March is built off of. Like you get a one-on-one, just you and your defender at the very end of the game, and he comes up just a little bit short. Doesn't take away from the season that he had, but again, like you mentioned, a very great season. Tyrese Proctor missing the front end of that free throw of that 1-and-1 was huge, and it ended up being what was like the consequential, essentially turning point of that game. And just a really great game in general. I really liked it. I personally thought the next game we're going to talk about was just a little bit better in general, but I mean, hats off.
Yeah, you know what? Hats off to Houston. I'm going to cut you off because who cares what the better game was?
Okay.
Like, it really does not matter. I mean, I thought this had the better ending, but I agree with what you're saying. Look, that call wasn't what cost them, but that was like a gigantic swing, and one of those where it's like, I honestly think if Duke fans want to argue and whine, like, I'm honestly cool with it. Because I understand they scored, I believe, they had 1 field goal in the last 10 minutes. So it was just the free throws and some of the misses as well were the only real shots that they had at scoring. And the Houston defense locked them down, and then they let that lead slip away. And then there's all those ESPN stats of their win. They're projected, like, I don't even know what it is, like win probability. But they let that game slip away, and that was like a huge momentum swing. So even then, I feel like it's okay for them to whine. But yes, like, I agree. This is also huge for Houston. I think you made a good point. Like, after the game, they were saying, don't forget about us. Like, don't count us out. Like, we are a number 1 seed as well. And if there ever was a Cinderella number 1 seed, this is definitely it, because you have 4 number 1s in the Final Four. This was just huge for like that program, I think, too, in general, and the Big 12, because it seems like there's a lot of other Big 12 schools that are kind of taking pride in the fact that Houston has made it this far, because you had 2 SEC teams and then Duke. So it was like Houston did feel like the odd man out. So I think it was really good. I was curious, before we moved into the Florida Auburn game, if you had any thoughts. Cooper Flag missing the shot. We were going to talk about Cooper Flag being potentially the greatest one and done player ever. What do you think about his college career, if you will, now after that missed shot and how it ended?
Yeah, I don't think that missed shot really affects his college career one way or another. I obviously, well, to a lesser extent, the prior to what that shot was, I don't think that it diminishes it from it a little bit, any of it. I think that it would have been even greater had he made the shot. But I mean, 1 shot to win the ball game, the coach puts in your hands, and you obviously want to make the shot, and like you want to say whoever could make that shot, like you put that ball in Michael Jordan's hands, he makes that shot. But like, who cares? Cooper Flag had a really great season. I mentioned it a couple times in previews and like other things that we were talking about Duke. He led that team all season long, led them in all 4 out of 5 statistical categories, or if not all 5 statistical categories. I don't have the stats right in front of me, so I can't give you a concrete one way or another. But either way, he led that team. He was very clearly the force of that team, and a team that like ran through the ACC all season long. A team that was dominant in all their games, and probably should have won this game almost handily as well. So being the best player on the best team in college basketball has to say something. And I think he's had one of the better collegiate one and done careers in the history of the sport.
For sure. Okay, let's move into Florida and Auburn. Obviously, you were thinking that was the best, probably wire-to-wire game over this weekend. Florida now going to the national championship. Johni Broome's career ending at Auburn. First thoughts?
Yeah, I just circle back to Houston one last time. Sorry, I know we like just introed the whole. We can redo the intro.
Go. I don't care.
I think Houston is just like a really cool story because they'll have gotten almost zero media attention all season long and could possibly are playing for a national championship. And that's what the Kelvin Sampson is talking about when he talks about the fact that they like don't overlook Houston, because they walked, and like even I was doing it as well. Like when I was saying that in a previous preview where we were making we were going through brackets, and I said that only one of my brackets out of 25 had Houston winning it. Like a lot of people had zero confidence in Houston, and they've been doing it all season long. They played really great defense. We've talked about it all season long, and I just think they deserve just a little bit. Like I wanted to give them a little bit more of their flowers, because even in this, we talked about Duke so much. Houston is a really great team, and they deserve to be in the national championship. That's all I had to say about them. And then if we want to intro,
let's move to Florida Auburn. What do you think?
Florida Auburn. Really great game throughout. Obviously, Auburn had the run at the end of the first half. Felt like they were pulling away a little bit, but this Florida team, you just can never count them out. I think it was funny that Walter Clayton, his first shot of the game is a 3, the first bucket of the game for Florida. He comes out guns a-blazing, proven that he's like one of, if not the best player in this tournament throughout the whole way. Walter Clayton obviously had another great game, and I think that Walter Clayton is going to get a lot of the shine, but Elijah Martin, those dunks were incredible. Like those dunks, like kind of, it felt like those were momentum shifters, and they also had played such a big role in how the game went. So when flipping the script like that, Elijah Martin had a really big part in that, and just the whole team played really great. And then yeah, I mean Walter Clayton, we're going to talk about him a little bit more, but I'll let you go. He's a really great player and really fun game to watch. Johni Broome was good as well, so you can.
Yeah, no, in the first SEC matchup in Final Four history, it was a really great game. And I just think it also just shows how strong this conference is right now. I mean, there was a lot of people trying to pick at what the SEC was and what it wasn't going into this tournament with, I believe, how many teams did they have? 14 SEC teams in this tournament, 7 to the Sweet 16. Now, obviously, 2 in the Final Four and 1 in the national championship game. That was huge for this team. And Walter Clayton Jr. every step of the way was able to provide Florida with something that just felt like this run is almost starting to feel like we're going to look back on it and he would be included in our all-time March Madness players draft, because he's just having one run to remember. This Florida team was so great. And then I also did want to talk about Johni Broome and his career at Auburn, just from high school having to get quicker and then going to Morehead State and trying to hone himself into a big man that a lot of these big-time programs would like. And then Auburn took him in, and he's just been great for them. And I believe he was first team All SEC in the last 2 years. This year, an All American, obviously. Great player. Probably just barely lost the Wooden Award to Cooper Flag, right? Cooper Flag won. And he was just a really, really good, for a good chunk of this tournament. A lot of people were talking about how he had a slow start in the first couple games and everything like that. But then he had his moment when he hurt his elbow, hurt his leg, and then came back out there, hit a couple threes. So he played really well. It just seems like it's Florida's tournament right now a little bit too. I mean, I'm not predicting anything for them against Houston, but it just felt like it was their time.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the Auburn team was really good this year. I wanted to give a couple flowers to Chad Baker-Mazara as well. He led Auburn in scoring in this game, and I felt like he was an underrated part of Auburn's kind of offense and just their team in general all season long. obviously you give a lot of attention to Janai Broom as one of the best players in the country, but Chad Baker-Mazar was a great player all season long. And obviously had another great game and really like helped propel them to that lead to be at the end of the first half and kind of just had another great game. So that it was one to remember. I mean, I think that the fact that it was kind of proposed as one of the greatest Final Fours of all time kind of set it up for, in general, as a general Final Four recap, set this up for a little bit higher expectations than maybe it delivered on. I know we had a really good ending. That Houston game was I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I mean, the Florida Auburn game definitely didn't disappoint, and you can see why these are some of the best teams in the country.